everyone, and welcome back for another homemade recipe. I am doing homemade zucchini bread today. I have been processing zucchini this afternoon, and I have some shredded zucchini that I wanted to make into some loaves of bread. Now we do homemade pumpkin bread, homemade banana bread, and we rarely do homemade zucchini because we haven't grown it in probably 8 years. This was a perfect opportunity to go ahead and cook some of that. It's going to be a rainy evening tonight, and this is warming up the house on a rainy day, and in turn we are also going to have a snack available to us with our dinner. Now I say it's a snack, but technically it's a quick bread. And if you know anything about quick breads, they're basically cake. So it's going to be our dessert or our side dish to our meal. So I'm actually doubling my recipe today for 2 loaves of zucchini bread. You can see this is the beautiful zucchini that I've been processing today. And I have these labeled up for the freezer so that we can use them to make a double batch of zucchini bread anytime. And then I just know how much is in there by putting that right on the label. So now I've gone ahead and done that because I got ahead of myself and didn't do it. I like to use my glass Pyrex baking dishes for my quick breads. It helps them to stay very moist, especially since I do some substituting in my recipe. So the substituting in my recipe is generally I will substitute out your white or granulated sugar for maple syrup or honey. We do maple syrup and honey here on our own farm, so I've already gone ahead and added a cup of maple syrup to my shredded zucchini. So we're going to go ahead and lift up our mixer. Now you can do this with a hand mixer, you can do it in individual bowls, mixing wet ingredients and dry ingredients. I love my KitchenAid mixer. Mine was called the Artisan. It's called the Professional 600. I've had it for years, and it has been so handy to have because I can walk away and do other things. So I'm just going to go ahead and get this on mixing. Now some of the other ingredients that we have are a couple of beautiful brown farm fresh eggs. My Isa Brown chickens just started laying this week, and we're loving using those in all of our recipes. The egg yolks, the egg whites are so much denser and brighter colored than store-bought. They have been getting lots of garden scraps, so they're doing really well. I've also got a half a cup of oil, and you can use olive oil, you can use sunflower oil, vegetable oil, whatever your preferences are. I'm gonna go ahead and mix that right in. I'm always a slow pour when it comes to adding my ingredients. I don't like to add everything fast because you want to get all of that measurement out of there. So I always just start my mixer on low until I have all my ingredients added. This way I'm not having to do the separate bowls. And look at how dark and beautiful those egg yolks are. If you ever see farm fresh eggs for sale on the side of the road and it says $5 a dozen, it will tell you it's worth every penny. So here I have got cinnamon, nutmeg, table salt, baking powder, baking soda, and if you want to, you can even add some finely grated or the dried spice lemon peel. It adds a nice little kick to it. It's an option that I've always done in my banana bread, so I like to just add a 1/4 teaspoon of that as well. I'm going to put down in the description the entire written recipe because, like I said, I'm doubling it. Okay. I'm just going to stop that for a second because as I was adding it, some of my spices ended up on top. I want to make sure they get incorporated. Now I'm going to go ahead and put this up to some higher speeds to get everything mixed in before I start adding my flour. Now when I add my flour, I add it a cup at a time, and this is going to be 3 cups of flour. You can do this with whatever flour you prefer in your diet. I do advise that if you do wheat flours, I really like the King Arthur's white wheat flour instead of the hard red wheat. It makes for a lighter loaf, but I find it's always really nice to blend my flours when I'm using wheat. So while I'm mixing my ingredients, I'm also preheating my oven. I'm gonna have it at 350. A thing to note that if you are using honey or maple syrup, sometimes it's good to reduce that heat a little bit or cook it for a slightly less baking time. I first noticed that when I used honey, sometimes my breads would burn. So I try to bake on a higher rack in the oven to keep it away from the heat. And I found that my metal pans with the quick breads also tended to cause a little bit of excess browning on the bottoms. Now I'm just turning this off because I'm doing this one-handed while I'm filming, and you can do it. I have a splash guard that you can pour ingredients into, but I just, with dry ingredients, find it's better for me to turn it off. And to keep your dry ingredients from basically causing an explosion of flour all over your kitchen, that's why I turn it off and just mix it on low as I'm incorporating it. And then I'll mix it on a higher speed after I get this third cup in. Now you can choose to sift your flour if you want. I've recently gotten some discount flour that is a little different than what I normally buy. I find that it needs a quick whisking with a baking whisk to get some lumps out of it. I keep my flour stored in this airtight container. I picked these up at Target many years ago, and if I can find a link for them, I will put it down below. But these are made by Sterilite, and these hold about half of a 5-pound bag of flour really nicely. And I just keep one in my pantry for sugar, one for flour, one for brown sugar, and one for cornbread. And they just fit perfectly to the depth of the shelf. They work great for cereals if you buy cereals in bags, because you can just open up the top and use it that way. So now we are mixed in. We can go ahead and bump up the speed on this. And I generally, that's a bit too high. Just let it go while I do my cleanup work, make sure that any spilt flour is done, so that that's already done. When I am baking my bread, I am ready for a rest. I've been on my feet all day today doing canning of different sorts and processing apples and zucchini. So I'm going to be using my sitting down time as a video editing session. Now that looks pretty good. As a backup, I always recommend using a good rubber spatula to scrape the sides of the bowl, the bottom of the bowl, and your spatula off. There are different spatulas that you can get. This is just the one that came with my machine. There is another one that has like a rubber spatula attached to the metal spatula, and it's supposed to help clean the sides of the bowls. I actually looked at them and they all seem to be for smaller size bowls, so I chose not to get one. I have probably had this mixer for at least 5 to 6 years, and I just haven't been able to justify spending more money on it. Okay, we're gonna clean this off with the spatula and switch to our baking pans. Now, I generally do all of my quick breads without nuts. The zucchini bread is really good with walnuts or pecans, so keep that in mind. I think the pecans give it a nice flavor for grown-ups who like nuts. My kids can't stand nuts in my baking. I'm gonna put these in on an upper rack. And you can see I've got my oven set to about the 4th line there. I could lower them down closer, so this is about halfway. Generally anywhere from 45 to 55 minutes. I start checking it at 45 to make sure that they don't overcook because of the sugar substituting. That sugar substitute really helps speed up the browning in it. So we're just gonna go 45 and check from there. Well, there is my beautiful homemade zucchini bread. This is what I ended up having almost for my complete dinner today, besides some tuna and a glass of milk, and it was delicious. I came back for 3 slices, so I worked hard for it, and I'm going to enjoy it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Enjoy this. Try it at home. You'll be glad you did. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.